Cheers, greetings everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Hasn't been a month or month and a half between videos, so we're already off to a good start here, right? I know I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I wanted to get really kind of caught up on my collection updates. I actually haven't bought anything since probably like mid-November, and kind of the reason for that was just because I was working so much and had other things going on that it just didn't seem like much of a point of even buying new stuff because I wasn't going to have much of an opportunity to listen to it. So I've been buying things since like mid-November, and there's a lot of albums I bought throughout 2021 that I wanted to talk about, and I'm hopefully finally going to get around to doing all of them. So anticipate lots of collection updates in the near future. So today we're going to talk about a little bit of dark ambient and black metal and maybe something else. I haven't even decided what the third album I'm going to talk about is just yet. But we're going to kick it off with a black metal album, and this is Niden Division 187, or Niden Div 187. Niden was a Swedish black metal band that had a couple of recordings back in 1996 and 1997, then called it a day. It was basically just a side project of some of the guys from Dawn, Canora's Quintet, and Thy Primordial. All pretty active Swedish black metal bands throughout the 90s, and I want to say all those bands kind of came to the conclusion well over 10-15 years ago already. So it's been, this is an older project, and all their main bands have been said and done. And I think if any of those guys have been playing in bands any days, it's mostly just like kind of hobby bands nowadays, nothing too serious, as all those guys are now like in their mid-40s or even older. But what we have here is a re-release of Niden Division 187's two recordings. It's a Towards Judgment demo / EP, which was originally released in 1996, and the Imperium album, which was released in 1997, both by Necropolis Records. This limited edition deluxe version of the album was released last year by From Below Productions, a relatively new label. It's only been going since about 2019. I think they only have like 3 or 4 releases on their roster so far. Niden Division is, of course, a black metal band, but it's not really simple to describe them, as they don't have a very typical black metal sound. They were, for what it's worth saying, they were probably one of the most extreme and just cold, dark, and hateful sounding black metal bands of the 90s, and maybe, in the grand scheme of things. They only had the 2 recordings, and together probably released only about 45 minutes of music throughout their short career. This was cold, militaristic, industrial-style black metal, which, if I try to compare it to something, it doesn't, there's nothing that really immediately comes to mind other than the old Zyklon B EP, Blood Must Be Shed, which came out in 1995, which was a Norwegian short-lived project from Samoth, and Ishan from Emperor, and Frost from Satyricon, and Alderon from Dathomsgard. That EP had a very similar, just really cold, industrialized, just very brutal, war-themed black metal sound to it, and as far as comparisons, that's really the only thing I can compare it to, because there's nothing really else in the 90s that sounds like Niden Division 187, and there's really nothing that came after it either. So black metal, even in its most brutal forms, will oftentimes, have some sort of melodic characteristics, or an interesting synth passage, or something like that. But what makes Niden Division just such a cold, hate-filled band is that their music kind of lacks all that. It is just brutal for like the sake of being brutal, really. I mean, it is extremely cold and dark and just hate-filled black metal with no love at all. This is just a total chaos and anarchy and just apocalyptic black metal, I guess, if you will. As far as the Imperium album is concerned, other than a short industrial ambient kind of intro and a slightly slower moment at the end of the recording, this sucker is it's on hellfire from the get-go, and it's just an intense recording that just doesn't let up for its 30 minutes. But it's interesting because, again, I can't compare this to something like Marduk or Dark Funeral or any of those more typical high-speed or Norsecore black metal bands that were so popular throughout the 90s and it became just a big trend by like the early 2000s, all that kind of stuff. No, this sounds totally different, and again, the only thing I can really compare it to is the Zyklon B EP from 1995. The set contains 2 CDs, the first CD being the Imperium album, and the second one being the Towards Judgment demo. And the demo was originally a self-release thing, and then it was, I believe in 1996, was re-released by Necropolis Records as a CD EP rather than, you know, just having it floating out there in cassette form. It was also, I believe, in 2004 re-released as a, you know, a dual set, and but that's been out of print. The originals have been out of print for many years, so obviously From Below Productions thought it was time to re-release this stuff, and well, this is the result. The Towards Judgment EP, demo, whatever you want to call it, is slightly different than the full-length album. I would say there's just, you know, a slight case of more melodicism and just, you know, more catchy riffs and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a little more accessible than, you know, the Imperium album. And that's not to say the Imperium album is bad, but the Imperium album is something that, I guess it's not casual black metal. It's not something you can put on when just, you know, when background music or whatever. It's the kind of album you're going to want to do when you're extremely pissed off or just, you know, just raging kind of. It's one of those sorts of albums. So it's not an everyday album or whatever. It's not something casual, very, very cold, grim, and just militaristic, industrial, war-themed black metal with a lot of samples. The drums are so fast, they sound like it's a programmed drums, but it is in fact a human drummer, and the guitars are just super fast, you know, vocals are just high, screechy, raspy, you know, hellish shrieks of, you know, terror, just really, you know, really crazy stuff. And for me personally, I had first heard about this band probably back about 17, 18 years ago, and I had wanted to get the albums back then just out of curiosity, but I had trouble tracking them down way back then. I remember the last time I saw them was 10, 11 years ago. I saw that the re-release of the two recordings, the 2004 re-recordings. I saw those at a secondhand store, and I had it in my hand. I was thinking, man, I should buy this. I know I'm going to like it, but I didn't buy it, and I regretted it, and then I realized it was, you know, really hard to find. So I'm glad this set came out, because now I can finally have these recordings. So it comes in this, what I guess they would call a clamshell box, which is really cool, and I personally haven't seen one of these in a really long time. Off the top of my head, I think the last time I had a clamshell box was when Satyricon had like a best of album like 15 some years ago or something like that. I had it, but I don't know that anymore. But this one's limited to 500 copies. My copy is number 322. So obviously very limited, and you know, I got this from the Ajna Offensive, which is a U.S. black metal distro. Also, they sell a lot of like, you know, like literature, you know, cold stuff, that kind of, you know, a lot of books kind of stuff. Very cool label if you've never heard of it though. So inside the clamshell box, we then have the CDs, which it comes in this dual cassette, or not dual cassette, dual CD thing, and I haven't seen one of these in a really long time either. Man, really crazy. Long time since I've seen anything like that. I remember like a lot of like my old like Japanese soundtracks have stuff like that, so it's kind of cool to see this. So the box comes with a poster before I show you the actual album content. There's the poster, check it upside down. There's the poster. Obviously, as I said, this is a very war-themed black metal. You know, you have cadavers, which are, I don't know if these are, you know, from war, you know, pictures or whatever, but probably good shot. Pretty grim stuff. Not really something I'm going to display on my wall, I suppose, though, so I'll keep it in the box since it's pretty limited and, you know, undoubtedly will be rare. As older recordings now are, because they're all out of print, and even this thing is pretty limited. Alright, so then the CD itself. So there's the front cover of Imperium, Towards Judgment, which you already kind of saw. There's the Towards Judgment. There's the Towards Judgment CD. And the Imperium CD. Probably should look up what that word means. Sounds Latin. And then we have a booklet, and this is, you know, obviously, you know, a very expanded booklet from the originals too, so you get some pretty cool stuff here. There's the front cover, lots of old band photos during the short period of time they were active, that is to say. Yeah. Some little writings from the back there. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. You know, again, cold, harsh, you know, war-themed black metal is what we're dealing with here. You know, this is not for the faint of heart, and it's not the most accessible stuff. Definitely something you're only going to listen to when you're really pissed off, or just, you know, I don't know, need an energy boost. Maybe it'll help. I don't know, hard to say. But you know, really crazy dark stuff, and I'm really happy to finally own this. I bought this probably about 8 months ago already. Been played it quite a few times and enjoy it for what it is, and definitely if you're into like just the coldest, bleakest, just insanely fast black metal, this is worth checking out. That's Niden Division 187. So up next is another very obscure project, a project I had never heard of until, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago or so. A random user on this channel commented and said, "Hey, have you heard of this project?" And I apologize, I can't remember who it was, otherwise I would totally give you a shout out right now and thank you, but you know who you are, hopefully you see this video. They said, "Have you ever heard of the project Sonne Satan? It's some of the best dark ambient I've ever heard." And I was like, "No, never heard of it." And so when this comment was posted, it was the weekend, and I was just about to pack my bowl and get high, and after doing so, I looked up the Sonne Satan on YouTube, and I was like, wow, this is really good stuff. Like, I instantly loved it, so I knew I had to get my hands on one of the CDs. And after looking up the band a little bit, I saw that all of their output was between 1993 and 1995, so only a couple years, and they had a couple of cassette albums, a split album with Rune's Order, and I believe several compilation appearances, which were all, you know, again, very small, underground compilations, which I'm sure are very hard to find. So the album I ended up picking up was the Archive Compendium, which is basically a collection of tracks from those cassette albums, and the split with Rune's Order, and I believe, like I said, again, I think the various compilations that Sonne Satan appeared on. You'll notice right away that it is misspelled on there as Sonne Satan, so when you hear me, you know, don't be thinking that I'm mispronouncing this. The actual band project was Sonne Satan, just for some reason the two compilations that were released had it spelled as Satans. Now, Sonne Satan is a German phrase, I guess if you will, and it means the sun, Satan. But the project itself is actually Italian in origin, and it's from a guy named Paolo Beltrame, and as I already said, he was only active with the project between 1993 and 1995, and then, as far as I know, he didn't do any music after that, which is a bit of a shame, because this is really good stuff. So Sonne Satan was a dark ambient project that fell somewhere between the lines of being, I guess, you know, a typical dark ambient, drone, ritualistic, and even a bit soundtrackish. It was very dark, haunting stuff. It, you don't really hear like dark ambient like this anymore, which is why I really like this, because I love, you know, if you take the time to search out a lot of the dark ambient projects from the 90s, you're going to discover some really special stuff, some really unique sounds, because they just don't make dark ambient music like this anymore. They don't. You know, everyone these days is so focused on like the cinematic dark ambient, or just, you know, just the typical more droney dark ambient. But no, this is something a bit different. You know, you get you get characteristics of like, you know, whatever your mind interprets dark ambient as being. Then you get drone characteristics. There's ritualistic characteristics. There's sort of like a choral singing. There's just very haunting presence in this stuff. Very dark, very obscure stuff, and I'm grateful to the person that you know, brought this to my attention. This is fantastic stuff, and I happened to pick the CD up off of Discogs for like $10. Got it from a German guy. You know, got it to my, you know, it was delivered in less than 2 weeks, and I absolutely enjoyed it. This is really great stuff, and there is one other compilation CD of all of the Sonne Satan's work. Sonne Satan's work, and it's definitely something I'm going to hunt down too, because I really like this stuff a lot. Great stuff. Yeah, this is definitely stuff for, you know, people that are into, you know, dark, ritualistic ambient music. You know, again, I can always reference, you know, more modern acts like Corona Barathre here, and you know, Corona Barathre is a great band, but a great project, but man, like just this older, just, you know, obscure ritualistic stuff that you can discover from the 90s and even the 80s sometimes is just really unique, really special, and you know, again, they don't make music like this anymore. It's just really great stuff, and you know, this is really meditative, just spooky sounding stuff, you know, those soundtrack vibes. There's some melodic characteristics, and just really good stuff. And as I mentioned, the first time I experienced it, I was a little, a little high, so it really made it special. And every time I've listened to it since then, it's been, kind of, you can't remember that first time you hear a band or whatever, a project. I always remember that first time. And the desire is almost there every time I hear this project. So really great stuff. And again, if you're into ritualistic stuff, just dark, obscure ambient from the 90s, check out the Sonne Satan. This is great stuff. All right, so on the front cover we have, looks like the sun, and maybe Satan's in there too. I don't know. And there we see the sun exploding. Yeah. Cool. There's the CD. There's the CD. Once more. Front cover. There's the inside. There's the back. So yeah, super cool stuff. If you can track this compilation down, or hell, even some of those cassettes, the originals, man, do it. It's really great stuff. And again, thank you to the person that recommended it to me. I've really enjoyed this. This is definitely a project I'm gonna explore more and hopefully get more of the recordings from. Hell yeah, man. Thank you. All right, one more, and something that's actually new, something that was released just back in September of 2021, and something that's not over 20 years old. So good or bad, I don't know, you decide. But this is Hymnambulae and their latest album, Enderle. Hymnambulae, of course, is the project of Per Boström and his sister Usa. I had to go to Google Translate for that one. This is the siblings duo, and together they create a sort of ritualistic drone music that is not easy to describe, and if you want my honest opinion, is very unique. Of course, anyone that's familiar with Per Boström's recordings over the past 20 years will know that this guy has been creating some of the most just unique and special dark ambient and drone music just ever. I mean, this guy's a legend as far as I'm concerned. I think most people will agree with that statement. Enderle, if I'm saying that right, it was of course the latest recording, and it was originally released on cassette tape, as you can see here. I bought it from Per shortly after it was released, and it's just a recording I've listened to many times since then. Really great stuff. Really meditative and dark, but slowly evolving, and just beautiful soundscapes. I mean, that's just the best way I can put it. Just very beautifully dark stuff here. And as the music can kind of take you into this really dark place, it doesn't fully engulf you and consume you, just as you kind of feel like you're reaching a point of where it's too much darkness. It seems like there's always like these sort of lighter tones or more beautiful tones that kind of bring you back. So this album was not recorded in a very typical way, not at all. In fact, well, here's what the Bandcamp site says. The light of the moon carried through the earthen doorway, a word from the desert, a word from the mountain, a word found in water, neither awake nor asleep, the offering quietly transcribed. Enderle is the third album by the ritualistic duo Hymnambulae, recorded in Umeå and the subterranean church of St. Anna, located 90 meters below ground in Lapland, Sweden. Electroacoustic ambient music, largely consisting of zither, harmonium, pedals, and tape loops. So right from the get-go there, you get this description and you realize, like, well, this isn't just some guy kind of, making soundscapes on a synthesizer. This is, using electroacoustic instruments and making, very special dronescapes. So as I listen to this, some parts are like, purely drone, but sometimes it's more like, I guess you could hear like the actual instruments used too, which makes for a very interesting experience, not something you typically expect in dark ambient or drone music. Ritualistic music too, usually has that more darker vibe to it. But as I said, this is dark, but it has these more beautiful tones and moments, and just like these. I don't know. It's like as the shadow kind of takes you over, you always kind of feel like there's some sort of I don't want to say hope on the horizon, but just something a little bit lighter that brings you back. So it's not, fully consuming it, but definitely dark stuff, meditative stuff. I've used this album a lot, just, passing into sleep and stuff like that. Really great stuff. I mean, I don't know how Parr does it, but this guy's a master of this kind of music, and as I've always said, it's not a bad thing to fall asleep and listen to dark ambient music. Yeah, this is stuff that'll surely stir your dreams, you know, give you, you know, nightmares if you want to, maybe even good dreams if you please, you know, really special stuff. I mean, I know I probably sound like I'm a bit of a fanboy, maybe I am, but just Parr doesn't really make bad music. There's no real, you know, special song on this album that stands out. It's, you know, very cohesive and very flowing kind of recording that, you know, you have to experience in its full. And it's not as long as some dark ambient recordings are, but, you know, just really, you know, it's one of those albums you could just hit a repeat and just keep going. It's really great stuff. Just a really special album that, you know, I've just come to love. Alright, so on the front cover we have what is undoubtedly one of Parr Boström's paintings, and, you know, I've said before how much I love his artwork. I have some of his artwork hanging on my wall that he sent me a couple of years ago. Just, you know, really cool stuff, dark and just mysterious and different. There's the back of the cassette tape. The cassette itself is just a black cassette, you know, pretty normal stuff. The Hymnambulae writing and Endarle. Here's a look at the J card with the artwork and track listing. Sort of an expanded version of the artwork, front cover artwork. Yeah, super cool stuff, man. Love it, love it, love it. Really great stuff. As far as I know, this cassette's still available. If not, you know, or if you're not a cassette person, which, as you guys know, I'm not necessarily a cassette person, but I do buy them here and there. You know, it's available digitally on the Bandcamp site, so definitely check it out. You know, it's definitely one of the better dark ambient and drone and ritualistic recordings released back in 2021, and yeah, man, great stuff. Just fantastic, fantastic stuff. So definitely check it out. It's Hymnambulae and their latest recording, Endarle. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this collection update. You know, 3 new albums to check out if you're into anything ranging from black metal to dark ambient, drone, and ritualistic music. Quite a few good selections there in my humble opinion, and you know, let me know what you guys been listening to. I'm always curious for suggestions myself, even though I'm not really buying anything right now, because I'm trying to get caught up and just really immerse myself in all this music I've bought in the past year, and you know, I think analyzing these recordings, just it adds something to the whole experience of just appreciating recording it. When you analyze something like that, you kind of, you know, really take in all those subtle details that a lot of, you know, dark ambient, other, you know, related artists put into their music. So you know, I always enjoy doing these videos, and hope you guys enjoy them as well. So that'll do it for this collection update, and I will see you next time. All right, bye. Have a good day.